If you are a teacher, parent, administrator, student, and/or anyone who loves reconnecting children with nature, and you want to figure out how to cultivate learning gardens and nature-based curriculum, then this is the podcast, the Outdoor Classrooms podcast. My name is Victoria Hackett. I am the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com and the Secret Gardens Nature Classes. I love witnessing the magic that happens when children are playfully learning outdoors. Observing the return of wonder and curiosity when children are interacting with nature is pure magic. This is the podcast that is going to help you capture children's interest and give you not only inspiration, but some real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to use the outdoor space, your outdoor space, as a teaching tool, so you can enlighten the playful learning experience for young children. Welcome to our Outdoor Classrooms community. For those of you who've been with us for a while, you're likely aware of the exceptional membership community we proudly call the Circle. The name reflects our belief that every educator, regardless of where they are on their outdoor classroom teaching journey, has a unique voice and invaluable insights to contribute. In this special podcast episode, we are thrilled and honored to feature Circle member Jodi Simpson, whose journey vividly embodies our community values. Through our workshops and the live roundtables that are in the Circle membership, we've seen remarkable seeds of inspirations take root, not only with Jodi, but with all of our members. And these sessions have shown an incredible spotlight on members like Jodi, who is achieving outstanding results with her kindergarten class story workshop. So this episode showcases Jodi's inspiring presentation, Nature is the Heart of the Story. To experience her full presentation and tap into the wealth of knowledge within our community, we invite you to join us. A little bit more about Jodi. Joy has been the building block of Jodi Simpson's teaching career of 22 years. She is currently teaching kindergarten and has taught preschool, first grade, and second grade. She's also the author of Circle Time Poetry Series published by Scholastic in 2005, as well as Read, Snack, and Learn with Favorite Picture Books in 2004. Sharing her ideas and activities with other teachers helped her grow as a mentor teacher for so many other student teachers. She's also worked with a team of author collaborators for other school districts' curriculum. Her learning and teaching journey includes being the recipient of the North Fork Teacher of the Year in 2014. I have no surprise there. And the Colorado Teacher of the Year finalist in 2017. Currently, Jodi Simpson is a part of the nature-based learning cohort of teachers that supports other educators in teaching students outdoors. She is also an active participant in our Circle membership community at Outdoor Classrooms. Without further ado, Jodi Simpson. Hello, everybody. We are here for an absolute special treat with Jodi Simpson extraordinaire. She is going to be sharing her presentation on nature as the heart of the story. She has hinted about this in our Circle membership community, and I'm absolutely thrilled and honored that she has taken the time to share everything with us. So welcome, Jodi. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And again, I just love being a part of the Circle, and I've just learned so much with you, Victoria, and alongside you, and you inspire me. And I was just saying the other day how every time there's a new podcast, it's like better and better and more comfortable with all of our friends. So thank you so much for having me. And it's just a joy to have this group of people who love nature and children and doing what we do every day. So thank you very much. I have been dabbling in learning how to do storytelling with children, and I've been now combining it with taking kids outside and bringing nature inside. So let's all have some fun together as we dive into nature as the heart of the story. So I am coming to you from Western Colorado, which is also the land of the Mountain Ute tribe that were here many years ago before our state was settled and even became a state. And I like to share with my children that the Ute people were the first people who loved this land and lived on this land and played and raised their children. And they also were the first storytellers. So, in fact, we share the first story, the creation story of the Ute tribe. And the children think that's a fun, fascinating story. And I have a link to it at the end of our time together. So, here's some artwork from the tribe that is in different parts of what we call the Four Corners area, and also just about an hour away at the Montrose Ute Indian Museum. So think of all the stories that could be told with these beautiful rock paintings and painting on an animal hide. This is my 24th year of teaching. I've taught a combination of preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, and currently I am teaching kindergarten in a public school. All right. So today I'm just going to share a little bit about the importance of storytelling and a little bit about core ideas to get you rolling with your children and how you can explore and go a little deeper on your own. So here are some of our sweet children along the forest and in the schoolyard, raising butterflies and pretending to be bears. And the importance of storytelling is really at its heart of what it means to be human. And it's also a way for children and for us as we're reading our own novels and interacting with adults in our lives and along with our children, experiencing friendship and family, and how when we're in nature, it's this other comfortable, beautiful invitation into even getting closer with one another and ourselves and to nature. And through the stories we discover, we learn more about ourselves and more about each other. What I've noticed about really trusting the children and watching them play is how the intelligence that happens with the materials and the experience lay this foundation where the stories that they create and the things they discover essentially gives me this whole view into who the child is, while at the same time they're seeing who they are. And as they play, they're also becoming more courageous, more agile. They're willing to try new things. They're willing to incorporate more pieces. And so when they're playing in nature, you're getting both of best worlds. You're getting that connection to being outside, plus the freedom to explore and play, and they're letting us know who they are. And as I refer throughout the presentation to what nature-based learning is, it's just a broad term that means we can be outside learning every day. Maybe you're a forest school where your children are outside for most of the day. It could also be a half an hour each day, or it could also be bringing nature inside your classroom. So you can think of it as long as you feel this connection in your own way. You don't have to live at this beautiful base of a mountain. You can go outside and take a little walk with the kids and bring nature inside. That can still be nature-based learning. Okay, getting closer into the heart of the story. When I think about, I think it was even a couple of years ago with Victoria, we said pick a word. And I think 2 years ago, my word was heart. And then I started to think, oh, how else? What can that really mean? So the H is for human connection, which is also called biophilia. Represents exploration and engagement. A is for agency. R is for reflection and the research that you're doing as the teacher, learning what the children are interested in and teaching together. I also like to call the T trust, trusting that you're going to be able to teach together, you and the children. So if you look at this beautiful picture of the children just relaxing out in the field of dandelions, and they're getting close to the ground, and then this little precious person is carefully holding this morning cloak butterfly we found. These are these examples of explaining what biophilia is. And so our human connection to nature can be both spiritual and evolutionary. It's a way that we experience peace and awe in our day and wonder. But it's also, I love the way children start to realize the patterns that are in nature with each season, in each day. Like we know where the sun's going to set. We know where the sun's going to rise. We know when the snow starts to melt down in our trail, that it's going to open up into our play area, our story area. So it's like the reliance of knowing when you're touching it or you're seeing it or you're viewing it or you're feeling it, that nature is going to continually have its resources to give you comfort, to give you something to find awe in, no matter
Mm.
what the season, no matter what time of day. So that's just a little picture of them.
And I think research is telling us that when children have this human connection to nature, that and then alongside of what they're actually learning, they're gonna remember it because they have that human connection. Is that
That's right. That's absolutely right. It's that
yeah?
experience because they're also engaging all their senses and it's more memorable. It's more, and they can reflect and go back to it. And it's
Hmm.
amazing how many things when the kids are sharing with me that they've remembered that's happened a long time ago. So
Yeah.
here we are. The children are just exploring and engaging, and this is letting me know, okay, the little girl wearing this beautiful green, she's getting ready to retell the story of the chrysalis. Here they're finding their reflections in the water. What stories are we finding in here? What's changing on the land? Here's the A for agency, where on their own, they're creating these own things and discovering whether they're making a catapult and they're brave enough to know, I'm going to jump on this. I'm going to make things fly. I know how to pull these stumps over and build this bridge for this story. I know that I am so careful if I just discovered these butterflies. So on their own, they've learned how to create their own gentle hand, how to
Mm.
build settings, and how to find resources around to build something they want to build all on their own. And reflecting is important for both myself and for the children. So I know how to encourage them on when they're doing their writing. What is it that we experienced that day or last week? What do I know about a past story? And then I need to remember to trust that these things can happen if I truly trust that the children are capable and competent and intelligent and wonderful and delightful that these things can happen. So you can trust and teach alongside together. And here we are doing some more storytelling down in Gratitude Circle. This slide is an example of bringing nature inside. So when we were planting seeds, grass seeds last spring, the kids said, "Oh, can we just bring some of this grass into our storytelling right here on the floor?" And so they made the habitats inside. Here's a picture of our classroom. So somebody asked me, how do you store your materials? So as we're
Mm.
looking at this whole screen, on the left-hand side, you'll see there's like a big paper heart on the left. This is our nature section. And along here are all the materials we store for story building each morning. The children come in at 8 o'clock. We start about 8:10 and we do story workshop building stories till 9 o'clock. So here is an example of a child just last week using the materials that are just on the shelves close by. So everyone's building stories at the same time. And what we
Mm.
do is a particular child, we just go alphabetical order, knows it's their day to share. So this will become the play that we all come to at the end of story workshop. In the background here, you can see a story arch. And this is where I have written the dictation of her story.
Wow.
Yeah. We have
Wow.
Here's another. Let me go back to her, but you can see she can use whatever it is that she's wanting to use. She was building like a friendship story and they didn't know why the tigers had to be so mean. That was and then by the end, the tiger became their friend, but they can pull whatever pieces they want to take off the shelves right onto the main stage. Here's
So they're
another
really
view.
creating a visual 3D experience.
Yes. Their setting is a 3D experience with some of the characters are actual like just little wood pieces or plastic pieces, and then their imagination comes through the rock and the cork and old loose part and tree cookies.
And do you change up the materials?
I do, and not very often. Like if I notice somebody we're not using a lot of a particular small loose part, I might save it later for math time.
Mm.
But I would say every day the rocks come out, the rainbows come out. The kids can spread them all over the room. This is just the main space where most kids choose to tell their stories.
Incredible.
Here's another view of the pieces. So this is our main meeting spot. We call this the nature section. And they just are able, and at any playtime, they can use these pieces. And these little square pieces of grass are really fun to use. We have animal hides. We have baskets to carry things in. We have bones and rocks and skulls. There's names on our rocks, so we know who's building where. Then out in this space, the children can get the animals they want to use for their characters, and they can move things as much as they need to. Here are some rock. These small little in the center bowls, these are cute little knobs that one of my neighbors gave to us, and the kids absolutely love them. They've always become mushrooms in people's stories. Here's another literacy piece. Right here on the left, these are words that come from I think it's called Interreading is our basal unit or curriculum. But these wonderful words are practice, offer, polite, wonderful, hero. If you're the helper of the day, you also pick one of these words that we strive for the day. And then if they want to, they're invited to bring that word over into their stories, and their characters can use that becomes kind of the life lesson of the story. So many times I'll say, do you feel like using one of the words you picked today to kind of end your story, and we can remember what your life lesson was in your story today? And you can see these are some of the words they like using, like believe and offer, like offer things to friends, and polite and peaceful. We have some of our sight words we paint on rocks too. I have them available for when they're wanting to tell more in their stories. Oh, this is really precious. This small little basket here. These are little Lego people. So before Christmas, I brought out Legos because I hadn't introduced them yet. One little girl went home, and during Christmas, her parents agreed to this. They ordered parts, and she designed each Lego to look like each of the children in our classroom. And
That's amazing. And the thing that's also interesting is that they're very little people.
yes,
And for kindergartners to really care and not get them lost. And I mean, just it's a testament to you and how you are introducing these items to the kids. It's beautiful.
it's so fun to see. So, Victoria, is there anything? I'm just kind of going on and sharing. We're going to get into more specific pieces, but I thought it's just helpful to kind of see the space and
Yeah.
and the variety, the range of things you can use.
It's incredible. I mean, it's a mix of not toys, but and then nature's loose parts as well. So I love that mixture, and I love the accessibility that you say that they can go anywhere in the room. They're not they don't have to do it in one certain area. And it seems like it can be a small and a large experience.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of freedom in their storytelling.
Yeah. It is amazing to see it come together like that, because it is very free, but yet they know like the rhythm of the flow and the rhythm of the workshop that for that hour. And they kind of know their responsibilities in it, but they know where their freedoms are in it too. So here's an example of getting more into specific stories and actually connecting it to place-based. So these 3 photos are representing a little boy who last year because all year we study our area. So we go from our families, learning about the history of our families, to the Mountain Ute tribe, to the settlers. And so the little boy on my lap here, he's actually a 6th generation of the founder of our town. So, which is amazing. And as he in the spring grew to be a more confident storyteller, he one day, when it was his time, he put these pieces together that told me so much about, okay, the social studies, the science, his family connection, his heritage in this little story. So if you're looking on this tabletop, he has combined all these pieces. The flower, it's just a silk flower, but it's a peony, which our town is Paonia. The story of our town is actually named after the peony. It was a misprint. It was the way it was printed through the post office over 100 years ago. And so I have peonies just like in the flower bunches. So he puts the peony here. He has a buffalo. He has, if you can see back over here, he's got like a teepee for the Ute tribe. Then he has, these are little sprigs of, and they're like in little plastic bottles of water, fruit trees. These are little peach tree cuttings that I had brought in, and he put them in a story because our town is known for our orchards and our peonies. And then he had the gate for his family place. Up here, he has where the peony eagles. He has an eagle guarding the entire scene. And then this is so interesting. These sharp pyramids are actually like a barbed fence because we had a thing happen 2 years ago where our state is reintroducing wolves. But there are two sides to that coin, because if you're a ranching family, you're not so happy about the wolves coming back. But then the people who really wanted that excitement of bringing wildlife back to its natural state. So I just thought, oh my goodness, he's got current events, he's got the past, he's got his family heritage, and he's got peony eagles all in one story.
Incredible. And he's in kindergarten.
He's in kindergarten, and he was able to represent the past and the present with those pieces. And that's why I say the children bring the intelligence to the materials and bring them to life. So that was a really amazing moment.
And it's such a testament because they can't necessarily write the stories. So they have the stories in their heads, but they're not at the stage of development where they can actually write them down.
That's right.
So your creation of actually having them create the stories with these parts is brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah.
And it's so freeing, because when you are trying to do writing, which we do have a writer's workshop later in the day, it's so much work to come up with the idea, to sound out the words, to go beyond labeling. So this starts our day with rich oral language, and like there's no limits. And so they just have that freedom to really get into a deep conversation and a deep representation of what's important to them. And they can really relax more and be who they are, because they're not burdened with all those other pieces of, oh my goodness, now I how do I spell that? And I forgot a space between words. And all of that's important too. But this is just a different feel. And this is a different opportunity. And I think the richness comes through. And then if you see in the middle, see the children, the rest of the class is sitting here listening. We become the audience for the presenter.
Which is just as important.
Yes, it is so important. And some kids choose to do like a play with several of their friends, and some choose to do one-on-one. And I must give my respect and admiration, and I've learned this through Vivian Paley and her story acting and storytelling, where there wasn't as many props, but she would just like dictate the story, and the children would act out the story in her kindergarten. And this is just a little bit different because it's more loose parts added in to that kind of play. Now, I don't know if you're able to hear this. This is a story.
A air fairy named Luna, a wind fairy named Alyssa, and two earth fairies named Ida and Barrett. And their castle was guarded by a knight. The knight lived with the fairies ever since he saved them from the dinosaurs. Their castle, where the dinosaurs were marching into sea. Their castle was so amazing that you could look at it for days. They liked to lay on the carpet. They liked to play in the grass. But their favorite was to spend time in nature. And every morning they went out hunting in nature for their food, which was honey. And one day when they were hunting for honey, they found a secret egg from a Pegasus with a unicorn horn. They brought the egg home with them, put it up in the top of their castle so it could hatch and stay warm. Then they went and had a party in the pool. When they were in their pool, a giant meteor started flying towards the forest. And the fairies had to come save.
Just going to pause this for a minute. That story was actually a story that lasted over several days. But what you're hearing is all the fairies she included, she chose the names of her classmates.
Oh.
She came back to the idea that they were getting comfort in nature, and that's why the fairies were happy. So that was a story that the little girl knew in 3 days it was going to be her turn to present the story. So she and my assistant had written down ideas and then laid out all the pieces that day when it was so that's another way you can do it. Like children start to learn, oh, like by Wednesday, it's going to be my day. So I'm going to start preparing for that. Here you'll see on the left-hand side, sometimes it's just a drawing. This is 4 little girls worked on 4 pieces of this garden they drew, and they taped it together and they told it as a story. Here's a traditional story arch. And I was doing the dictating again, and I think she did a lot of the telling orally herself, but she just used the whiteboard as her stage.
Interesting.
This here is where a little girl had taken a trip to the museum in Denver and had fallen in love with ancient Egypt. And so she created this museum. And then every week, every time it was her story, she added more chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And you could just see her knowledge growing and her comfort level with the content and
Wow.
through. And then also these are little words that they can include, and they're just story words. We just call them our story words. One day, then because then this is at the end of the year when they're writing more sentences. Then they can refer to this chart and they can write the and up and she and went and happily ever after. And then after you just seeing all this and being inspired by the pictures, if you're able to watch this, you might want to take a screenshot of just seeing this is how we just start our story workshop. It always starts with invitations to play because we all have stories inside of us. I continually remind the children that materials are very powerful and meaningful, but it's their intelligence that brings them to life. Then we say, where do the stories live in our space? What do you want to tell us? So these are sometimes little nudges along if you're finding like it's more helpful for even somebody who's starting out to say to yourself and then to share with children. Some of these words might be helpful for you. And so here's a little bit more about who I've learned from that, and then I've designed into this own way of playing inside and outside. And so I stand on the shoulders of Vivian Paley's method of storytelling and story acting. During COVID, the book Story Workshop by Susan Harris McKay really got me into a more specific way of seeing how Writer's Workshop can be combined with play. And then through another one of our circle members, I found out about Silka Rose West and her co-author, Joseph. And I just borrowed this book from the library, but How to Tell Stories to Children, which is also another way to give them an example how you can hold something as simple as a stick or a stone, and it can become something that's an animal or a feeling or represents something else, and modeling that for children.
Incredible.
Again, here's the flow. If people are actually viewing this, they can do like a screenshot. This is just saying the flow of our workshop, how we begin, how we come together for the play. And then at the end of each day, that child's story is typed up and it's sent to their parents through email. So we're also having a way to share it in another voice, in another way.
Quick question is, so the person that it's their turn to share the story, is that where you or your assistant hang out to get the dictation of that story?
Yes. And it really is about 10 minutes of that whole time. They know they could go out and build, and then I'm checking in with others and doing attendance and lunch count and all those busy things that happen every day. And then we are just, the other children are building around the room too. And then I usually give a signal that says, a few more minutes, I'll be working with whomever it is. So if you have a question or something you need, ask another friend or ask the other teacher, and I'll check in with you soon. And then we just dictate.
You're not there the whole hour. You're not scribing the whole hour.
No.
You're there for
5 to 10 minutes tops.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Yeah.
And they're also content. And that's the other thing is the beauty in seeing that this is so developmentally appropriate, because they're taking it as deeply as they need to in their own stage. They are who they are in that moment. I'm not trying to move them to another stage. We're just taking that moment of who they are for all of them, creating and playing and building around the room. And so there's very little interruption. There's very little problem solving that I have to do because they're very content and they love the feel of having the freedom and the agency to make what they want to make. So
I love that you're sharing it with parents. I had one next question, and maybe you'll answer it coming. But in terms of doing this type of work outdoors.
Yes.
Maybe you can tie that in.
So here are some great outdoors lessons or ideas. So same philosophy. This is early in the year when it's warmer. So we were starting our day outside. We didn't know we were going to find 16 slugs. So we're outside playing. The kids know it's their time. They're playing. So then they start to notice when they're lifting things up that there's these slugs underneath. So not only did we make it into a story eventually, so you can see we're not too far, like not even a 5-minute walk from my classroom. So we're outside. I have my clipboard. They're exploring. Same thing. Kids are building outside. We discover these slugs. So then not only did the story emerge about the slugs, we discovered that there were holes, breathing holes in the sides of the slugs with our magnifying glasses.
Wow.
So it became kind of like a nonfiction story. So Chloe, who discovered this, who was like the one of the day, the storyteller of the day, she's like, I think mine actually, before I tell more about it, Mrs. Simpson, I think there's a hole in the side of my slug. And then all the kids had their magnifiers and like, oh my goodness, they all have these little holes. And so later we found out that's part of their anatomy. But then we also turned it into to a math story. Then we compared the sizes, how many small slugs compared to how many large slugs. Same way. We're just outside. There's not as many loose parts. There's just big loose parts. For example, like big logs, big boards. We did bring our magnifying glasses out.
So you went out intentionally during story time, during your workshop.
And then it flowed into math and became kind of like a longer part of the day. Yes.
Ah, wow. Yeah.
So, and then here are some books that as people have access to this later, these are the books I use to become, stronger and relearn all the time. I reread these books and I'll have to just start the new one with how to tell stories to children, but Story Workshop, The Boy Who Would Be a Helicopter, this more of that storytelling, story acting, where Vivian Paley just dictated all of these stories that the children were doing as they were playing. And then Growth of a Storyteller on the far end, the woman who wrote this actually had met Vivian and had studied under her. And she lives, I think, in England. And she does this on her, I think she has 3 books now about storytelling. And she does it more where it's just traditionally they've taped a rectangle onto the carpet. And the children, they're all playing, but when they come together, there's less props, less material. And the children become the props. So if it was a story about maybe the children going to a restaurant or meeting a tiger along the way, somebody would become the tiger and another friend would sometimes the children would become the table. Sometimes people are the cars. So the children themselves become the material. And that's another fascinating avenue to take.
Yeah. Very physical.
Yes. There's some documents I can send that are like story arches and different ways to put your pieces together. I have some links for the different articles, the Ute creation story. There's also a little video here about, what happens when we're out in the woods that I'll share with you.
Ah, great.
And spending time with children in nature has enriched my life. I see the confidence, curiosity, and joy children experience when they are outdoors. Their connection to the land around our school has sparked their interest to learn more about what they see, hear, and touch. The children are more persistent as they problem solve. They try new things. I notice the way they are at ease and find comfort outside. Stress levels decrease. It's as if nature has a language that invites them to explore the textures, colors, tiny details, and even the grandeur of tall trees and unbelievably blue skies. With cheerful satisfaction, I witness the children stride into the woods. They move holding hands or walking side by side as they maneuver their way down the sidewalk to our trail. They hop over logs and jump onto stumps. They travel the uneven ground with ease. They are self-managing risks as they evaluate how to move their feet and dunk their heads under branches and twist and turn their way through Yogi Meadow. Their bodies are getting stronger. They are becoming more resilient and independent. They are learning about themselves and each other. Children build their confidence and grow into their fullest potential when they assess risk and do something they've never done before. They climb, carry, balance upon trees and stumps. They make their own balance beams. They fall and get back up. They approach from another angle. Other times they may fall and realize they're not ready yet. And that's okay. They're getting to know themselves. And even though I am intentional as I create and plan experiences to meet academic and curricular expectations, I also feel a bit like a woodland creature myself. And my childhood comes flooding back to me. And I still wish to spot a fairy around the next corner or catch a glimpse of a butterfly alighting on a flower. I remember that feeling of not wanting the time to end, but knowing that when I do come back inside, I am always grateful for the time I spent close to the end.
Yes. That's what I get to do every day. Is play.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And again, just for those that are listening, the visual of this presentation is so worth it. This will be in our Outdoor Classrooms Circle membership community in the tour and talk section. So, is there anything else you'd like to share that we might have missed?
No, just thank you so much for doing what you do. And so there's a space for people to say, yeah, this is what it can feel like. This is what teaching can feel like. This is what kids can experience. So thank you for making this space for people to come to, Victoria, and letting us share our joys. And
Well, it's just an honor and a pleasure to have you with us. And that's why we call it the circle, because I feel like all of us have something to contribute. And this new way of storytelling and introducing storytelling to kindergartners is such a for our young learners is absolutely brilliant, because what you said earlier in terms of you really are truly meeting each child where they are. And that is such a brilliant, and it's not even brilliant, it's just the way it should be. So I thank you for that and cannot wait to share this with the rest of our community. I know they're going to love it. So we've had a lot of conversations about storytelling.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you at our next meeting and we can see what everybody's up to.
Great. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. There are 3 ways that you can get involved in our Outdoor Classrooms community. The first thing is you can go to www.outdoor-classrooms.com to find our free nature-based book list library. That's a PDF with lists of books with links to them where they are all sectioned off into the 4 types of gardens. So it's a wonderful, wonderful resource that is free to you. We pulled that out of the shop to offer it for free. Secondly, if you really want to get to know us a little bit more, join one of our workshops. We have live workshops. We have pre-recorded workshops. You can go to our workshop library. You'll learn about our live workshops through our weekly seedling news. And thirdly, if you would like to dig even deeper and join our community, it's called the Circle Community, and it is absolutely amazing. If you are looking for a community of like-minded educators and or parents that are really seeking to create and cultivate outdoor classrooms and nature-based curriculum and really looking to be a part of a movement that is really changing the face of education. Again, it's up to you. Join us in any of those 3 different ways. Talk to you soon. Bye.